miss from downtown. Just keep feeding Chris Goulding.
Well, and it's just a great play again. Chris Goulding really ran over the top of that screen to the keyway and then came back the other way as it's all happening now. Oh!
And this has got wild in the Philippines. Out of control in the Philippines. Punches, kicks, fans, the bench is cleared.
You are kidding me.
This is out of control. This could well see the game abandoned.
We obviously can't see, but there's an Aussie on the ground there.
Well, these are sad, disgraceful, deplorable, abhorrent scenes in the Philippines. Nathan Sobey has been assaulted.
Are you kidding me? And again, we couldn't get a camera angle, but there must have been 15 or 20 Filipino players around Nathan Sobey and Chris Goulding. You saw Luke Longley run from one end of the court to be able to stick up for his teammates. This is disgraceful.
Shane, I have never seen anything like this in all my years covering professional sport involving Australian teams.
When you've got to go back to that timeout from the Filipino coach and the emotion and the way he challenged his players, and you've seen there's been a bit of niggle all the way along. There was an unsportsmanlike foul on Chris Goulding that started this. It was nothing but a cheap and disgraceful play against the Aussies. They'll get serious penalties for this. This is really bad. I've never seen anything like it, let alone in an international tournament.
Can the game continue?
Well, I'm not sure what happens from here. You know, but you look at Chris Goulding there. You know, you look at some of the players and what they've copped and the amount of punches and kicks and the mindset that this Filipino team attacked the Australians with is disgraceful.
You raised a very good point. We took the time out from the Philippines where the coach urged his side to hit the Australians. I didn't actually think he meant it.
Well, and that's where it started. Just on that offensive foul here from Chris Goulding. Cheap play from Kickett, who's come in from the sideline after this as well. And that's cheap from the Filipino to start with. Kickett's come in and stuck up for his teammates, and I mean, Blatt should be fine for throwing such a soft punch anyway. But have a look at these flying punches and kicks that come from the Filipinos. Never seen anything like it, particularly in a world event. What I'm worried about is on the other side, back over there where we saw Sobey. Right here, look at this.
Unbelievable, Shane. Sickening.
The chair's thrown. And look how many players are on top of those Australians.
So, uncalled for response from Daniel Kickett, but that was after it was instigated by the contact by the Filipinos on Chris Goulding. And then that's actually a punch that followed a punch from Andre Blatch. And then there are what you could only just be described as coward attacks on people looking a different way. There are elbows and fists to the head. You know, Thon Maker is out of line for flying through the air with feet first. But look at that. From Romeo, a punch to the back of the head of a man not even looking at him.
Well, we've seen that happen on multiple occasions of guys coming in and punching the Aussies in the back of the head. But what's going on the floor there with so many players on the Australians while they were on the ground, chairs been thrown.
Sadly, this will make news around the world.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you see somebody like Thon Maker involved in this,
leaving the crowd and the officials to move on. There's the contact on Chris Goulding initially. And it's that contact to which Daniel Kickett reacts with a bad elbow to the head. And that makes contact with Roger Pogoy, and then, quite simply, all hell breaks loose.
Well, and that elbow from Kickett, you know, no doubt, you know, I think that was cheap. And I think, you know, he could be suspended for that game on that elbow, for that action. But what transpired from the rest of this Filipino team, you just can't excuse. And Chris Goulding, there's no doubt, exaggerates, expecting this contact in the second one. But again, this is a cheap act to start with as well.
So Roger Pogoy just chesting Goulding. You can see the intent, the determination. And then that's the contact from Daniel Kickett, which, it must be said, is more significant than the original contact, Pogoy on Goulding. And because it's a raised elbow to the neck/head.
Well, and that was cheap. And, you know, we've said the way it is about these Filipino players that have come in and hit players in the back of the head and from behind, and the kicks and everything else. But the play that Kickett made, no doubt, was a cheap shot to the head of a Filipino player that certainly wasn't ready for it either.
That's a very good point.
But that certainly does not make an excuse. Have a look at that cheap shot running in from the background and punching Thon Maker in the back of the head. And if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, the last thing you want to see is your first-round draft pick involved in anything like this.
You've got two current NBA players out there in Matthew Dellavedova and Thon Maker. Former NBA 500 gamer Andre Blatch, prominent as well. And while all this was unfolding, perhaps the worst images were of Nathan Sobey pinned underneath a chair with objects being hurled at him, and multiple Filipino officials or players and accompanying authorities attacking him.
Yeah, and Chris Goulding, I think, was on the ground right next to him. But, you know, all of those players came off the bench. I mean, in basketball, you're not allowed to come off the bench to be able to jump into anything. They had players come off the bench and throwing haymakers into the back of the Australian's head.
While Calvin Abueva was grinning broadly, Matthew Dellavedova has the expression I would suggest is most pertinent right now, expressionless.
And I think that's how every player and official should feel right now if they have, you know, their heart for the game. Because it's just not what you want to see in international basketball. When you're putting on your country's colours, it's just not a good look.
79-48, Australia by 31 points before a wild eruption. An uncontrolled brawl.
This game can't go on, Matty. What are they looking at the replays for?
I can only assume they are going to try and apportion fouls and then continue with the contest.
Oh,
but
cut it out. This has got to finish.
I agree.
I just don't think
that straight away. This game can't
it's...
continue. And these scenes are childish. Am I reading it incorrectly?
No, I agree.
To be taking selfies and smiling with a silly expression after you have been involved in scenes that will go around the world and damage basketball. There needs to be advisors to the Filipinos here saying your behaviour is out of line.
Yeah, there's trouble. There's ramifications coming from these actions.
Disqualifying foul call on number 2, Nathan Sobey. Number 4, Chris Goulding. Number 7, Thon Maker. And number 12, Daniel Kickett. Those 4 individuals have been ejected from the game. Disqualifying fouls called on the Philippines. Number 2, Terrence Romeo. Number 4, Carl Brian Cruz. Number 7, Jason Castro. Number 8, Calvin Abueva. Number 11, Andre Blatch. Number 16, R.R. Pogoy. number 18, Toy Rosario, number 25, Jamin Aguilar, and number 35, Matthew Wright. They have all been ejected from this game.
Four Australians, 9 Filipinos ejected from the contest, which will see the end of the contest. Sobey, Golding, Maker, Kickett ejected for the Australians. Romeo, Cruz, Castro, Abueva, Blatch, Rosario, Aguilar and Wright, who hadn't been used yet off the bench, ejected as well. 13 ejections, game abandoned.
Well, they've still got 3 players left, right? So does that mean they're going to play against 3 players? Surely that doesn't even make sense.
Well, there are the remaining Filipinos. One of them is the captain, Gabe Norwood. Are we about to see a game of 5-on-3, Shane?
Well, they can continue to play with 3 players. Not that it makes any sense and really makes a mockery of the sport in my mind. And we go back to what we said a long time ago, that this game should have been cancelled.
It makes a sad situation ridiculous. It makes a disgusting situation farcical. To play 5-on-3, one team already ahead so significantly, but it looks like the call is being made and there will not be a resumption.
You'd love to see the replay of how Nathan Sobey was ejected, for being belted by 10 players and a chair. And Golding was next to him on the ground with all those players.
So we will continue. We will continue.
No warm-up. Let's just play 5 against 3.
An unbelievable night. Absolutely unbelievable. Bulacan, 10 kilometres north of Manila at the Philippine Arena.
See, no one wins from this game even continuing.
So what do the Aussies do here? Rotate the ball? Do they even play basketball? It looks like they don't really know what to do. Anthony Drimmick, do I shoot it? Why not? I'll take 3, but Shane, how do you commentate this now? What do you say?
How do the Aussies play? How do the Philippines play? How do the crowd get involved? Well, they will if they keep hitting 3s. They'll take what they can, but
so Cam Glidden just walks inside, throws it across the court. They are a little aimless, the Aussies. They don't quite know how to approach this. None of these players would have ever gone 5-on-3. Maybe they did in the backyard when they were kids. I don't know.
Well, you can in juniors. You can play at any level, but it just doesn't normally happen that many people are ejected or fouled out in a game. You might in local comp when you only start with 6 and end up playing against 2 or 3 players. But the main thing right now is that no one gets hurt. I mean, you said it before, perfect word is farcical. It really is. 5 against 3. You just want nothing bad to happen to anyone from here on in.
So the shot from Gabe Norwood, the captain of Philippines, a moment ago, followed there by another to Fajardo, suggests that what has happened is dawning on the players and they're just going through the motions. They don't know how to shoot a basketball right now. And why would you? Their heads must be spinning.
Well, and they just intentionally fouled Jason Kadid to put him to the line. So you've got to wonder what their strategy is now. They may want to foul out until they get to one player and then the game is called off.
And it does serve one purpose. As we took the wide shot a second ago, you could see fans filing out of the stadium. So they will leave in a more controlled manner than if they'd have been called off and they were all left in the one situation at the same time.
Well, they're going to foul themselves out here. I think that's the only strategy. There you go, so they're down to 2. And once it gets to 1, it's all over.
I think Coach Reyes just mouthed the words, call it off.
Well, I can't understand that the officials from both countries weren't able to negotiate for this game to be finished. When this makes our game look silly.
The violent eruption was bad enough. To continue the game in these laughable circumstances makes it only worse. We still have 2 minutes and 8 seconds left in the third, but there is no way we're going to get to the fourth. Everyone is shaking their head. Shot Reyes. And a bit more. Dave Norwood, the captain.
Let's hope he's on 4 fouls.
Goes to the bucket, commits the foul, knowing full well that's his night done.
And it's over. And finally,
a slow, agonising death to this game. So at 1 minute 57 seconds left in the third. An amazing, sad, ridiculous game of basketball is about to finish. Australia 89, Philippines 53, on a night that will be spoken about for days to come and remembered for years to come. It is a dark, dark night for the sport of basketball. Australia and the Philippines started tonight playing for top spot in Group B, first round FIBA Asia World Cup qualifying, and they finish in disgrace.